Just listen to this. And there's a good punchline. It finally happened.
It's never not a good time to thank black women in America for their services to the Republic, for stepping up again and again to save American democracy through their sacrifices, their strength, their activism, their votes. But this month in particular, we should thank black women for doing what a bunch of white guys have failed to do for years. Hold Donald Trump, hold a former president accountable for his alleged criming. And the fact that they're the ones doing it must be killing Trump.
Can you believe that someone actually had the audacity
Of other names. Look,
unironically, there's never... Listen to what he said and then wait until you hear the punchline.
it's never not a good time to thank black women in America for their services to the Republic, for stepping up again and again to save American democracy through their sacrifices, their strength, their activism, their votes. But this month in particular, we should thank black women for doing what a bunch of white guys have failed to do for years.
It's never not a good time, according to Mehdi Hasan, it's never not a good time to thank black women. According to Mehdi Hasan, you should look at people and just immediately determine what is the color of their skin and then thank them. Of course, that's Mehdi Hasan's position. When they agree with Mehdi Hasan and when they do what Mehdi Hasan wants him to do. Oh my goodness. Hold on. What did Mehdi Hasan say yesterday? Well, oh yeah, that's right. He got into a fight with a black woman on Twitter. He wasn't thanking her for her service. He wasn't thanking her for her devotion to the Republic. He was trying to humiliate her and fight with her and demean her and degrade her on Twitter. Look, Brianna Joy Gray. I don't know who she is. Some people are saying that, she's a shill and I don't know. Just throw these words out there. I know that she seems to have worked for the Bernie Sanders campaign. But Mehdi Hasan was not thanking her for her dedication to the Republic. Yesterday on Twitter, he was trying to mock her and scorn her in front of the entire world. He said, in response to her first tweet, "Don't vote shame me." Second tweet, "Let me vote shame you." That was one of the interactions that he had instead of thanking her for her sacrifice. What was the other one that he had here? Don't get to the tweet that... there was another one. "Nobody is lowering the bar for Biden. Silly woman, how dare you be so daft? Thousands of organizers and activists on immigration, labor rights, criminal justice reform are all pushing Biden to do better. Almost none of them think a second Trump term would be same or better than, or a second Biden term. That's just you. Silly, silly woman. I'm not thanking you today because you're not going after Trump. You said something I disagree with." Well, apparently this was, where is it? This was the straw that broke Mehdi Hasan's back. I said, Mehdi Hasan, shaming a woman and person of color. What a racist, misogynist piece of garbage Mehdi Hasan is. Plus, she's a Bernie supporter. I do love watching the revolution devour its own. And then, hallelujah, testify, people. Mehdi Hasan has finally blocked me on Twitter. Look, I'm not saying I was trying to do it. No, but I am just surprised it took this long for Mehdi Hasan to finally block me on Twitter. Because I have been... There are a number of blue checkmark MSM legacy media propagandists who I find particularly noxious. Jake Tapper, yes, but there's other ones. No Lie with Brian something Cohen, BTC. I find him particularly noxious. There's a guy, Bruce Arthur, coming out of Canada, particularly noxious. One who is a notch above all the others in terms of noxious toxicity, arrogance, pomposity, hypocrisy, dishonesty, disingenuous, malicious disingenuousness is Mehdi R. Hasan. He comes out with that patronizing, in-your-face, we should thank black women for doing what a bunch of white men are not doing, going after Trump. Oh! And then when they say something he doesn't disagree with, well, he has no... By the way, if according to Mehdi... did I take down that video? You got to go watch that whole 4-minute clip where he says Trump is a proven racist, and he's particularly racist when he insults black women. Whenever he insults them, it's racism. Because he calls them words, and when he says, what did he say? He used the term disrespectful when Trump referred to Ketanji Brown Jackson as disrespectful. Mehdi Hasan viewed that as racism. There he goes with that word again, disrespectful. What a racist thing to say. If, according to Mehdi R. Hasan, when Trump attacks a black woman, it's racism, that must mean that when Mehdi Hasan does it, in his own mind, it has to be racism as well. I have not read the book, Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, but I know the rules. Hold the enemy to their standards. You want to make that stupid ass rule up, Mehdi R. Hasan? When Trump calls a black woman disrespectful, it has to be racism? All right. Then when you make fun of someone, when you try to poke someone on the interwebs, it also has to be racism by your own standards in your own mind when you did that. Blocked. I tell you, hallelujah. It was like a train wreck. It was like roadkill on a highway, I like to say, or an accident on the highway. Like, you can't help but read Mehdi Hasan's Twitter feed, and you want to comment on all of it. You want to avoid it. You want to look away. You want to not smell the foul odor that is that dead skunk on the highway. But you drive by it and you say, don't smell, it's going to smell terrible. And you have to. And you have to look over and you have to see the train wreck. The absolute in-your-face propaganda, disingenuous dishonesty. His interview with Matt Taibbi, you have to watch it. And it has to enrage you, because if it doesn't enrage you, you don't have a soul. Okay. I've gone this far and I haven't checked to see that we are live on all platforms, across all platforms. Are we? We're live on Rumble, people. Viva Fry. I just noticed I'm at 372,000 subscribers on Rumble. Booyah. We're live on Rumble. We should be live on vivabarneslaw.locals.com, where Rustang says Viva is obsessed with Hasan. I am obsessed with those who I believe are contributing to the downfall of society. That picture of the dude giving Trump the middle finger. Oh, that was no lie with Brian Taylor Cohen, whatever the hell his name is. No lie with BTC. Spoiler alert, it's all lies. I got to show you this. This is like, there's a propaganda piece where they show you like the picture according to the propagandists and reality. It's reality. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my goodness. The wrath of the Iowans at that Iowa Buckeye versus Iowa State University. Look at these people. Everyone was flipping the bird to Donald. You see this picture, by the way. You Google this picture. You're going to find this snip and clip picture across media because they want to paint a narrative that the crowd was booing at Donald Trump and that they were all giving him the bird. This is the propaganda picture, by the way. I was like, Jesus, I have to go. This is the actual picture. These yellow dashes through the people there was so that I could highlight the fact that there were easily, in this frame, 40 people. I think I counted 35 yellow strips just so that I could, make sure I got them all. But I'm sure there are some tucked in there that we can't see. There's one right here that I know I missed right there. Easily 35 to 40 people. How many people giving him the bird? Oh, well, they're giving him 2 fingers. 1, 2, 3. 3 people giving Donald Trump the middle finger. Apparently, there are some people who rightly observed, if you look up here in the picture, everybody, you see that guy right up here pointing down? He's wearing the Iowa, whatever that other opponent jersey is. He's pointing down at the people who seem to be giving him the bird. On top up here, I had to look up the jerseys, is the rival team jersey. Now, I'm not saying that's the explanation. I heard some boos when I listened to the video, and I saw people seemingly giving the bird, flipping the bird to Donald Trump. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. 40 people, 3 of them, 10% are going to give the bird. That doesn't shock me. But the media wants to portray this as the reality. And then you get Brian, no lie, with Brian BTC, whatever the heck his name is. It's like, it's a joke. We're living in a world where people are profiting off of purveying disinformation. And I say this in full awareness that the people, the trolls that I have on Twitter are going to say, Viva, you're doing the same thing. I openly call for an audit of everything that I've ever said. If I have ever made a mistake that I have not corrected, I invite people to call me out on it. I do an audit of my own accuracy because I don't want to be in a position where I've ever said something that wasn't true, that I did not correct myself. It's happened. I've made mistakes. If you came for perfection, I'm flattered. You're going to stay for the humanity. But I have particular disdain for the people who try to shape fake narratives so they can actually contribute to the downfall, division of society through misinformation and disinformation. If society is divided over factually correct information, that's the price of living in society. So I do have particular disdain and particular scorn for Mehdi Hasan. But I also have a lot of disdain and a lot of scorn for a lot of other journalists out there. So anyhow, all that to say, we're done. Good evening, everybody. This is going to be one hell of a show. The world, I'm not going to lie. I wake up and my wife has been saying that I've been doing this a lot. Just like randomly. She's like, what are you sighing about? It's like, I just had another thought that's irritating me. You wake up and you say, have we reached the bottom of this madness yet? And no, we haven't. No, we haven't. Lawsuits coming out of Colorado to keep Trump off the ballot. It's an endless race to the bottom. I don't know where it ends. I don't know how it gets better. And I don't know if it's actually pushing people to the despair of apathy. They say the opposite of love is hate. It isn't. Hate is as much a passion as love is. The opposite of love is apathy. Shit, I think I screwed it up. The opposite of love is, no, apathy. It's indifference. I'm sorry. The opposite of love is indifference. I have a very bad feeling that this endless tyrant, this endless torrent, not tyrant, this endless torrent of misinformation, disinformation, gaslighting, legal abuse, spiritual fatigue is going to push people not to hatred, but to indifference. Just leave me live. Give me a moment of quiet. Just let me be, like that amazing scene from Network. Just leave me alone for 1 second of the day. It will not. They will not. They want total. It is a torrent of tyrants. Hello, Stewie. How's it going? There doesn't seem to be a bottom to the barrel. We're not yet there. All right, but we're going to explore the bottom of that barrel tonight. And my goodness, we're gonna have some fun with the governor of New Mexico. Holy crab apples! Before we get there, son of a bee sting. I did put on. Hold on, because I'm so neurotic, because I'm so intent on holding myself. I did check the box that says contain a paid promotion, because it does. Thank our sponsor tonight. If you might be, going a little crazy, you might be having a few too many thoughts of impending doom in your brain, what you can do to bring yourself back down to earth and to be a little bit healthy and be good to your body, you can have your greens, child. Most people don't know you're supposed to have between 5 and 7 servings of raw fruits and vegetables daily. I do this pretty much every day. Sometimes I eat so much roughage, you don't want to know the end of that sentence. But most people do not eat their 5 to 7 servings of raw fruits and vegetables a day, and they should. Instead, they suck back a disgusting chemical-filled Diet Coke, or worse yet, a Red Bull. Desiccated greens, powdered greens, people, fieldofgreens.com. You get the powdered greens. It's a food. It's not a supplement. It's not an extract. You mix it together. It looks like swamp water because it's rich in nutrients. 1 spoonful has 1 servings of fruits and vegetables with all of the antioxidants, nutrients that you need. If you can't get your raw fruits and vegetables, you can do this as a healthy alternative. 1 spoonful twice a day. It tastes delicious. And that's it. Made in America, USDA organic. It's fantastic. Tastes delicious. It's a healthy habit. And if nothing else, it will also force you to focus on being good to the one temple that you have, your body. That's right. Promo code Viva. Go to Viva Greens. Fieldofgreens.com. It brings you to Brickhouse Nutrition. Promo code Viva for 15% off your first order. All right. Now, standard disclaimers. These beautiful things that you see here, these highlighted comments, they're called Rumble Rants on Rumble. They're called Super Chats on YouTube. YouTube takes 30% of that beautiful $10 Super Chat right there. So if you want to support the channel without also supporting YouTube, you can go to Rumble and do it there. Rumble ordinarily takes 20%, but for the rest of the year, they're taking 0%. 2024, they'll go back to taking their 20%. And best way to support, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. $7 a month, $70 a year if you get the 12-month. Some people actually willingly contribute more because they like what we do. That's it. No medical advice, no election fortification advice, though we're talking some serious, serious election stuff tonight. All right, what did it say? Unvetted non-taxpayer. What struck me in that clip was the woman who says we need to be taken care of first. That big brother mindset is the problem in these Dem-run cities. Cheryl Gage. So for those who are not in our vivabarneslaw.locals.com community, although I think I shared it on Twitter as well, it's that very famous montage now of, I guess it's New York. I'm not exactly sure where it was, but it doesn't really matter. The principle is you have a bunch of people within a community saying they're bringing in, they don't say the word illegal immigrants. One of the guys literally said, what was the term? He said, unvetted non-taxpayer. What in the name of sweet holy hell is that? When you are complaining about the fact that your government is not taking care of you, a tax-paying citizen, because they are prioritizing or at the very least neglecting you because of illegal immigrants crossing the border illegally, coming into the country illegally, and then taking the resources that you as a tax-paying citizen have paid into the system, and yet you still insist on using the Orwellian newspeak term unvetted non-taxpayer instead of illegal immigrant, I dare say that mindset might very well be part of the problem. Unvetted non-taxpayer. It's crazy. Now, let me see here if we got any. Well, we got a bunch of Rumble rants, and we're live in the locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Let me do one thing. I see Barnes is in the backdrop, and I'm going to bring this up because I sent Robert the link right before the stream because someone sent me an interesting article. Apparently, some legal scholars are saying that Trump can get sued for selling his unadulterated mugshot to raise money. It's an unannounced topic. I'm going to get Barnes to field this one for me because it smells and sounds like a load of horse crap. Robert, are you ready, sir? He's 5 minutes. Okay, 2 seconds. While on the subject, however, because we have made modified creative changes. First of all, the mugshot is public domain. Last I checked, though some legal scholars are thinking, the mugshot might belong to the Fulton County Police Station, and you're not allowed reproducing it without their permission. You know, I'll pull up the article. It was in the New York Post. You might want to get some of the best damn merchandise anyone has ever designed. You'll notice the creative. What is the word I'm looking for? Transformation of the image to an old Western style wanted for president. The wanted for president mugshot shot glass. It's amazing. The wanted for president mugshot coffee mug. It's a play on words here. Or the mugshot wanted for president shirt. Vivafry.com, and there's a ton of other stuff there which you can get the above average stuff. Oh my goodness. Okay, Barnes looks like he's ready. You ready? Sir, come on in. How goes the battle?
Good.
You look younger, by the way. Did you get, you got a hair trim and a beard trim?
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. You look like 10 years. You look like almost like a baby with a goatee when it happens.
That's funny.
Robert, look, one of my brothers sent me the article or said, did you hear about this? And I Googled it. Have you heard about this? That some legal scholars are suggesting Trump can get sued civilly by the Fulton County Police Station for selling the unadulterated mugshot? Have you heard that?
Yeah. I commented on it at the time. I think we dealt with this issue back a ways when someone was trying to litigate the issue of whether there's a right of privacy and a mugshot, and because there's a bunch of publications that all they do is publish mugshots. They're now subject to a range of state laws that say that, if someone requests it, you have to withdraw it under certain circumstances. Also, some of these publications were, borderline extortion. They're like, yeah, maybe we can take your photo down if you send us a little money, that kind of thing. So but there's no question on the federal side, federal government cannot claim a copyright. That's by law. So the only question is, could the state government claim a copyright, number one, in general? And then two, could the state government claim a copyright in an identification photo, such as a mugshot, so-called mugshot? Historically, the answer is, I know of no case. I mean, there was actually someone arguing with Eric Hunley on this, saying that that Eric was an idiot and everybody else was an idiot for not knowing that, of course, it's copyrightable. And is one of these law Twitter people. And so I was like, well, cite me the case. Cite me a single case from anywhere in American history where any government employee or agency has claimed a copyright in an identification mechanism, whether that's fingerprints, photograph, DNA, you name it. Of course, he couldn't. And then he blocked me because people were starting to rag him about not being able to give an answer when he was so arrogant and condescending like your typical law Twitter person is. I know of none. Nobody at Fulton County has made this claim. It was just some law professor who was eager to get her name in the news, and the Post circulated the story without any second guessing and without getting another side of that story. I pointed out that, as you pointed out, generally speaking, mugshots are considered in public domain, and generally speaking, things in the public domain are not subject to copyright law. The second problem is whether a state government can claim it in general. The third is whether anybody can claim it for identification purposes other than the individual themselves. And that's problematic for a wide range of reasons. This photograph wasn't taken for artistic purposes.
It wasn't taken voluntarily. So imagine they compel someone to submit for the mugshot and then say, I own the copyright in your face that I compelled you by law to submit to. It's inconceivable.
And you have a right to court public. You have a right under various FOIA and Freedom of Information laws and sunshine laws and transparency laws to the public to have access to this. The purpose of the photograph is for public distribution. It's designed for one it's effectively used to shame people and the rest. But its purpose, its legal purpose, is to make sure that if a person flees, people know who it is so they can identify them for preventing that person from successfully fleeing. That's the predicate behind all identification taking information by the criminal justice process. In that capacity, it's intended to be publicly distributed as widely and broadly as possible, not to have someone claim authorship and a monopoly on any use of it. So that, I mean, again, no one has ever, to my knowledge, even claimed this in American history. And it's not like it's something new. I mean, mugshot magazines and publications have been around for the better part of a century. So the idea that this was a completely novel claim that I don't think has any legal merit whatsoever. Its least credibility would be against Trump, but I don't think there's credibility against it, period. There's always a fair use argument. I mean, the one we're using, wanted for president, is clearly a fair use anyway. But it strikes me as, you better go to vivafry.com and buy it now because maybe they'll come and shut us down tomorrow.
Oh, no, it's a novel legal theory, and that seems to be exactly all that they're using to go after Trump these days, civilly and criminally.
That sums up all the cases against Trump.
Robert, we got some stuff tonight. You want to go over the menu very briefly, and we'll do our two subjects here and then move over to Rumble exclusively?
Yeah, so we have 12 topics. We'll do 2 here, 10 on Rumble, and then 3 or 4 bonus topics exclusively to the after party where we answer all $5 tipped questions and more at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. The top topic is the nutty New Mexico governor. It was the most popular topic on the board poll today, trying to ban guns in the name of emergency powers and showing that wherever you get your constitutional law, don't get it from Ben Shapiro, because apparently Michael Knowles at the Daily Wire thinks that such emergency power exists as an exception to the Constitution. We got to re-educate him. Jordan Peterson doesn't need the re-education camp, but Michael Knowles does. We'll talk about the Second Amendment win against California before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. We'll talk about Elon Musk and X is suing California. What's the progress and possibility of that suit in light of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals big winning, banning the Biden administration from continuing to engage in social media censorship? The Eastman disbarment trial exposed a lot of issues about the 2020 election. that many Americans still don't even know about. The Texas Attorney General Paxton trial continues to expose what a complete crock most of the Republican leadership in Texas is that the ludicrous character of those accusations got fully unmasked this week in the trial in the Senate. Peter Navarro got to go through a show trial in the District of Columbia that now faces appeal after the rubber stamp conviction by the D.C. jury. The Obama judge doesn't think doing things as a chief of staff for the White House just really has anything to do with federal employment, and denied a removal under very unusual arguments that got made there. More Jack Smith misconduct unearthed by the defense lawyer for one of the co-defendants in the classified documents case that may have broad ramifications for the entire case. New York's vaccine mandate on teachers got overruled, and teachers were ordered to be reinstated this week. The abortion pill case, big decision out of the Fifth Circuit, and right away, the abortion lobby ran up to the U.S. Supreme Court and is begging the U.S. Supreme Court to get involved. We'll see it. We'll discuss it, and we'll see if they do. Biden immigration, another one of the popular topics, because the Biden administration wants to prevent the Texas governor from stopping illegal immigration across the border by using buoys in the river, and he wants to force the state of Texas to keep all the immigrants and not allow them to send them up to Chicago and New York City. Then the bonus topics, we'll have a bar alternative being discussed in the state of Oregon, a civil rights case against government conspiracies before the Fifth Circuit, the Owen Schroyer case, he's facing prison time. They claim not because of his press or his speech, but if you read the sentencing memorandum, it's all about his press and his speech. And they lie about what Alex Jones did that day, by the way, on January 6th. And last but not least, what about Whataburger claiming that the anti-SLAPP statute prevents people from suing him for premises liability? So those will be a couple of the bonus cases we'll get to at the after party at vivabarneslaw.locals.com.
Robert, we're going to start with this because it's the type of absurdity that you would expect out of a movie like Idiocracy. This is the highlighted clip here. Listen to this.
The value of the order is that it gives me three things. One, it says it's a statewide issue and it's a message to everyone to start leveraging the resources and arresting people. I can't arrest everyone. There are literally too many people to arrest.
Someone got a concealed carry permit in Albuquerque walking down a public street, they're not going to get arrested.
Maybe they should be. If there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute.
Madam Governor, do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun?
Do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun?
Albuquerque.
Look at her. Look at her arms.
For 30 days.
No. The value.
So,
of
Robert,
order...
I can't say that I've ever heard of her before this. She strikes me as being the biggest intellectual midwit imaginable. Power-hungry tyrant. I love the way she's sitting there with her arms crossed like, no, of course it's not going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyhow. And the use of the words I and my, it gives me power. I've declared the emergency, and she said no constitutional right, and my oath is absolute, which I guess is her saying, well, I know I said I would uphold the Constitution, but that wasn't an absolute statement. We'll get into the Knowles thing because I'll steel man Knowles' argument. But Robert, this is absolute madness.
Well, I mean, I think it's why Knowles' argument is so dangerous too. I get there's a natural temptation to want power so that you can serve whatever cause you believe in. And in the context of the emergency power grabs used during the COVID pandemic, we're always going to be used as a predicate to do it again. The old parable that if you allow emergencies to be the pretext to break the law, politicians will create emergencies so they can break the law. And that's what's happened here. And, you have people like Michael Knowles who look at it and think, wow, conservatives could use that too. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. That's why, unlike the Weimar Constitution that led to the undoing of the German Weimar Republic and invited and, in fact, legitimized the rise of the Nazi fascist party that led to the rise of Hitler, who, by the way, was rejected by 2/3 of Germans at least 2/3 of Germans in every single public poll that ever happened, actual legitimate election that ever happened in Germany, commonly misunderstood to say that he was popular. No, he wasn't. Otherwise, he would have had an honest election. He didn't, like all tyrants, like all autocrats. So the problem is what she said is commonly believed. I mean, she's a lawyer herself, is commonly believed by the political class that the words emergency are magical mojo words that eviscerate all oaths, all obligations, all constitutional protections. It doesn't. Our founding generation was intimately aware of the possibility of various kinds of emergencies, including insurrections, including, we'll talk about it later, invasions, including the possibilities of declaration of war, issues concerning debt, issues concerning pandemics. They were intimately aware of all of it. And yet you will not find in a single place, in a single part of the Constitution, a single exception for emergencies. Unlike the Weimar Constitution that did provide for that. And that big hole loophole is what gutted it. And that's why any constitutional scholar who didn't go to Ben Shapiro's School of How Not to Learn Constitutional Law at the Daily Wire knows how dangerous it is to even be contemplating such power.
Well, let me steel man Knowles and what other people's perceptions are. I think people tend to use the term emergency and time of war. They use the term emergency very broadly. You have martial law where it says we're in a time of war. We can violate your civil rights. You have convictions under the courts of law, which not an emergency, but there are circumstances in which the violation of constitutional rights is lawful, so to speak. So, people that say like there's a tsunami, you're gonna lock people down. There's a war going on or whatever. But I guess the argument would be that martial law is specifically provided for in the law and is not as broad and vague as an emergency.
Well, there's no provision for martial law either in the Constitution. Basically, in fact, there's just no emergency exception, period. What there is if an invasion happens, there's certain things you can do. If there's an insurrection that happens, certain things you can do. If you've declared war, certain things you can do. But all clearly laid out in the Constitution. So it anticipated what is colloquially called the worst form of an emergency and said, here's how you can declare that. Here's who can do it. Here's what they can do. Here's where. Very careful and deliberate. No emergency exception at all. They knew how dangerous that would be. It would eviscerate all constitutional. You don't have a constitution if you have an emergency exception.
Well, and you look at Canada, we don't even have an emergency exception. We just have a standard of a free and democratic society. These are your God-given rights, except in as much as can be limited in a free and democratic society. And we've seen how that worked out, although it was only marginally worse than what we saw in California and New York. But Robert, let me bring up, I say, where is it? When David Hogg, Parkland shooting survivor, disagrees with you, you've gone too far. He says, I support gun safety, but there is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the U.S. Constitution. And, you go into his timeline after that, and you got a bunch of people who don't frequent his timeline saying, has hell frozen over? I agree with David Hogg versus the Michael Knowles.
Congressman Ted Lieu, a Democratic liberal congressman, said the same thing. It will be, and there's talk already in New Mexico of seeking to impeach her based on her statements. Several law enforcement officials have said they will not enforce it. Quite frankly, they can't. Any law enforcement official who enforces this is a facially unconstitutional action. In other words, on the face of it, there's not legal authority for it. She made that clear. She said, I'm not abiding the Constitution. She said so. Well, what does that mean? It means local law enforcement can't enforce that. They can't say, well, the governor told me. Doesn't matter. Now you're suable. You could lose your badge. Arguably, you're engaging in criminal behavior, frankly, depriving people of their civil rights. So every law enforcement official in New Mexico better follow the advice of those district attorneys and sheriffs who've said there's no chance in the world they're going to enforce this, because that's their legal obligation, is to not enforce an unconstitutional order. Then the legislators I don't think there's enough Republicans in the New Mexico state legislature to impeach her, but their right to at least initiate the process, because this is action that can't reoccur or be repeated. And she's already been sued, and a federal court is highly likely to stop her action very quickly.
Well, I mean, they might not need Republicans to impeach her at this point if you have the likes of David Hogg and Ted Lieu saying, yeah, she's gone too far this time. This was her reply to Ted Lieu, who said, I support gun safety laws. However, the governor of New Mexico violates the U.S. Constitution. She went from then, she pivoted from, I'm not violating the U.S. Constitution because conceal and open carry are state laws that I have jurisdiction over. If you're really interested in helping, whatever. Robert,
yeah.
First of all, she said,
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, thinking that this isn't about state jurisdiction, but that's the quality of liberal lawyers, right? There's nobody saying that the state of New Mexico has no authority over its population. They're saying that that power is limited in certain instances, including in this instance, the Second Amendment rights. And she admitted she's violating Second Amendment rights. She can prohibit one form. What the Bruin decision said is that any limitation has to be predicated upon what existed. We'll talk about a good transition into the second case, California case, because in California there's criminal laws prohibiting the open carry of handguns. The Ninth Circuit, a district court, refused to enjoin it despite the Bruin decision by applying a balance of harms analysis that ignored how likely they were to succeed on the merits, which was insane. But it's what a court really thinks they're doing when they do that balance of harms analysis. That's supposed to be an equitable analysis about not, hey, do I think society will be better off or not, and get to play Platonic king as judge by which is good or bad. That's not what that's supposed to mean. That's an injunction analysis that says, if I give you what you want, what's the likelihood that leads to a worse or better outcome if I turn out to be wrong? That's all that is. That's what that's supposed to be. Not about is society better off or not. But of course, you let judges have this kind of power. They completely misappropriated old equitable jurisdiction for their personal politics. And that's what the district court did. And the district court decided not to even look at the likelihood of success on the merits. So the Ninth Circuit, fortunately, was forced to reverse and say, well, no, you always in a constitutional case have to look at the likelihood of success on the merits, because the balance of the harms always weighs in favor of a constitutional issue and a constitutional right. And what California was doing is what the New Mexico governor just declared by decree to do, which is they passed a law that said made it a crime to open carry a handgun under certain circumstances. That got challenged after Bruin because California's restrictions were not in place, nor do they have a historical analog to the time of the founding of the country or at the time of the adoption of the 14th Amendment in 1860 after the Civil War. And consequently, that's why the judge decided not to talk about success on the merits, because he knew that they would win on success of the merits. Court of Appeals said, no, you have to talk about success of the merits. And for the time being, stop that criminal law from being enforced in the state of California. So a big win in California. The same grounds is why that governor is going to lose very fast. I think Gun Owners of America or the Firearms Policy Coalition, one of them has already filed suit. It will be in court this week. The New Mexico governor will lose just like the Californians lost. And that will continue to be the way it should be.
All right, now I just say that if there's anything that's ever been impeachable, it's that. And the logic, which is I can't arrest all the criminals. That's how bad things are. They're not going to abide by this.
And she admitted, oh, yeah, this isn't going to stop. I'll give credit to that journalist asking a real question that's almost never asked in the gun control context. Do you really think this gun control law is going to deter criminals from getting guns or using guns?
No.
Nope. I don't care, but I'm here to take away your gun owning rights anyway. Nothing you can do about it. Emergency. Emergency.
The rationales. Now the cops can really focus on the real criminals because they're not going to focus on the non-criminals. Preposterous. Robert, before we go over to Rumble, everyone come on over to Rumble. Let me just pull up a few Rumble rants here. From McAllen, Texas, I work 2 blocks from 2 large motels that asylum seekers stay at for 24 hours. Every day, 6 100% buses pick them up and either take them to the airport after midnight. Just FYI. And we got 514 Pasha. How long is it going to take to someone to challenge this crazy New Mexico governor? So we covered that. She's nuts and she's nuts. And then we got, why doesn't anyone like those 2 sycophants next to her arrest politicians that pull this bullshit under 18 U.S.C. Section 242? We have laws on the books that are not being enforced by either party. And then we got this last one. Can Abbott in Texas claim an emergency that gives him the power to enforce the U.S. immigration law and force the Biden administration to go after the New Mexico governor? All right. So that's it. Now we're coming over to Rumble, people. The link is in the pinned comment, but just in the unlikely event that I forgot, I've given you the link to Locals as well, where we have the after party. Come on over. We're ending on YouTube in 5, 2,942, 3, 4, 3, 2,